Talk to us about France as an ecosystem to be building a business. You've just had Dara Khosrowshahi, the CEO of your business, right here in Paris, announcing some new areas of focus for the driver in particular. Is that to assuage regulators?
Yeah, so actually we were invited by President Emmanuel Macron for the Tech for Good initiative, and Dara, our CEO, took part in that yesterday at the Élysée Palace, and that was the opportunity for us to make actually two big announcements. One announcement that has to do with a partnership with the insurance provider AXA that aims at bringing some sort of a social safety net to all the drivers and couriers that are using Uber across Europe. The second announcement we've made is actually an investment of 20 million euros in France, here in Paris, in partnership with Polytechnique, which is one of the leading engineering schools, that aims actually at developing a research center in the field of urban mobility, and especially how we take urban mobility from 2 dimensions today to 3 dimensions with flying drones and flying taxis, as we call them.
Before we get into the excitement of flying cars, let's stick to the driver part of the business at the moment, because do you think this is enough to assuage the issues about the gig economy? Do you think this will be able to show that flexibility can be teamed with protection for the workers?
My sense is there's probably more to do, frankly, and it's not just about Uber, it's about the industry, but this is actually something that I am very proud of at the moment. My sense is we haven't done a good enough job when it comes to listening to drivers. We've had a bit of an approach which was growth at all costs, and we're trying to pivot as a company to more responsible growth. And that starts by listening to drivers. And one of the things they told us is, yes, we value the flexibility that you bring to our lives, but at the same time, we want to have the sort of social safety net that exists in the traditional employment work. And so with the growth of independent employment, we feel that it's actually very important to figure out how we can create that sort of safety net, and that's about us partnering with governments and about the whole sector, so that drivers still feel protected and have that peace of mind that they are after.
What about protection of the user as well, the passenger, because that is something that perhaps the UK called into question with the London TfL, worried about safety standards. You're all looking to appeal that particular decision on your license. Are you confident about it?
So the first thing is safety, and safety of the users is our #1 priority as a company. And this is one of the moves that Dara, our new CEO, made when he joined the company a few months back. When it comes to the situation in London, I think the refusal of the license that we got a few months back is a good reflection for us of some of the mistakes we made in the past, and that was a great catalyst for us to just take a deep look at ourselves and think about how we can just be a better partner, a better, rebuild the trust that we eroded over time. And with that in mind, we made a number of significant changes to how we do business, putting integrity at the core of everything we do. And I'm hopeful that with those changes, we'll actually be able to get our license back. But this is up for the court to decide, and there's obviously a court hearing in June, so very soon.
Did you ever feel a dent in any way to demand or supply when you felt there was perhaps an issue with the public relations of the business, and what was your focus?
I think we have seen that to some degree in the US, quite frankly. This is where some of the controversies and some of the reputational damage has been the hardest. We haven't seen that as much in Europe, to be frank. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't focus on the issue, and the issue is still out there here. And I think in retrospect, despite 2017 being a very difficult year for the company, in retrospect, I'm really glad it happened, because that's been a massive catalyst for so much change, and for actually bringing in a new leader like Dara, who I think is doing a phenomenal job.
Europe is somewhere that there's still much opportunity. Perhaps you're not as active as you'd like to be in Germany, for example. How are you looking to roll out and continue to expand in EMEA?
So that is absolutely right. If you look at Europe today for Uber, France and the UK are still a very big part of our European business. And that means there's massive opportunities for us to actually expand in places like Germany, in Spain, in Italy. And what we need to do to actually expand there is not so much, putting cars on the road and just, running like we might have done in the past. It's actually about engaging with cities and figuring out how we can adapt a model to fit with the cities that we serve and to make it work both ways. And I'm actually very optimistic about some of the progress we're making in places like Germany, and I'm really hopeful that we can get over the course of 2018 to a very big improvement in the scale of our business in those places, and that's hopefully for the better of the citizens.
Talk to us about some of the changes in personnel you've made. You just made a key new hire in the UK. Can you talk to us about it?
Yeah, of course. So we have hired a person called Jamie Haywood, a very experienced leader that comes from the telecom industry, and he will join us early June, so in a few weeks, to lead our business across not just the UK, but also Eastern and Northern Europe, so about 12 countries. Very exciting for me to be able to partner with such an experienced leader and also learn from people that have seen a lot of different industries, in particular very regulated industries like the telecom industry.
Let's talk about the exciting part of the business, the flying cars. I mean, 20 million being put into it in France. When does it become a reality to actually your revenue and to people using these things?
So first thing is, why are we doing that in the first place? Well, we're doing that because we fundamentally think that over the next decades, you're going to have a radical change in how things and people move around cities. And we think that in order to tackle the congestion challenge that exists in cities around the world, we will have to figure out how to use this third dimension, how to use the space. In terms of timeline, right now what we have as assumptions are 2020, our first demonstrating flights, so that's more of the test flights happening in 2020. 2023 is when we are hoping to have our first commercial flights in 3 cities around the world, 2 in the US, and we're now running a bit of a process to find the 3rd city, which will be an international city, and I hope a European city, but we'll see.
We'll see. When we hear from Dara, he often says, look, we're not going public this year, but maybe in 2019. Do you think that all the regulatory boxes will be ticked in Europe by that time?
I think we've made a number of changes already to our business to get ready for an IPO. I think GDPR, for instance, is something that we've taken really, really seriously and made everything we could to be compliant right away. PSD2 in the payment field and all of those. So I'd say we're taking the right steps to go public at some point. And if you just look at our Q1 2018 results, which we released actually yesterday, it's actually very encouraging. We see the business continues to grow really well, 60% growth in net revenues over the first quarter, and at the same time, a very strong improvement in our bottom line, in the profitability of the company. So I'm actually very hopeful about us getting and being on track for this IPO.
And you still feel that talent is coming your way? There were issues, of course, about inclusion. Do you still have as many people knocking on the door showing you their CVs and wanting to be hired by Uber?
So we've made pretty radical changes to our culture, frankly, internally, and we have a new set of cultural values. I think that now a lot of people are starting to look again at the company or seeing this new leadership or seeing about that change. And so we definitely are seeing a big amount of people actually knocking at the door, and our ability to bring on people like Jamie Haywood, for instance, I think is a good illustration of where we're taking the company and our ability to actually attract top talent.
Yeah, Dimitri, it's been wonderful having you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. That, of course, was the head of EMEA for Uber.